Wait, is this going on YouTube? Can I play this? Am I allowed to? I don't think I'm allowed to play that either. No, we better not do that and put that on YouTube either. Friends, Brian here for Yes You Can Play Guitar, and I want to talk today about one of the most divisive, polarizing topics in all of music. I want to talk a little bit about Don Felder and the Eagles. Many years ago, I bought his book, Heaven and Hell. I think the book came out in like 2008 kind of thing. And I read it and I loved the book. You know, back then I had an old Twitter account. I would actually tweet to Don and he was very nice. He would respond back. Really went in depth researching about this whole thing with the Eagles, the history with them and Don Felder and everything that went down. And I recently did a reaction discussion video, which many of you watched and many of you commented on, about Derek Weebly. He posted about, Derek Weebly now of Sum 41, posted about an experience he had recently going to see an Eagles concert. Now, we all know about the Eagles, about Don Henley and his position on YouTube, fans filming, all this other stuff. You know, we've all seen the now famous clip of Rick Beato about Don Henley saying that he has, was it 60 staff that he has scouring the internet all the time?
Here we go.
A team of 60 people.
60 people work for him.
60 people who sit in a room with computers, and all they do all day long, 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week, is deal with the platforms such as YouTube and Facebook. They file claims and they issue takedown notices for the Eagles and for myself.
60 people
to administer strikes and takedown notices. Now, having been one who has had what I felt a very unfair copyright notice, this was actually given to me by Brian Adams and his legal representative online. It really ticked me off, and I gotta say, it made me feel like challenging them to do one of these. Nonetheless, I gave my opinion on it, and a lot of you did as well. It's a very interesting watch. Check out Derek's video on the Sum 41 channel. But I want to get back into this book. This book, it starts at the very beginning of Don Felder's roots back in Gainesville, Florida. He grew up with, played with, and jammed with a lot of famous musicians, including Tom Petty, Bernie Leadon, who was the original lead guitar player in the Eagles, Duane Allman and the Allman Brothers, and Stephen Stills. Very interesting. I was really compelled and just fascinated reading about his struggles, pretty much out of poverty, as a struggling musician, and then as he moved to other ventures in New York City, Boston, New York State, the struggle that he went through from a poor musician into a world-famous rock star. It was very amazing. Him talking about the money, the life of a rock star, what it entails. This book wasn't written with what seems to me any intent of malice or, you know, out to get anybody. It seems like he was just writing about how he saw things and how he felt about things. It's very fascinating reading about his account of the dynamics and the developments of what happened within the Eagles. Now, for someone such as myself, a lot of people might have said to Don, like, all the fighting and the craziness going on and all the stress, why did you hang in there so long? You know, when you are a rock star with that kind of a gig, I think anyone would try and hang on as long as you can. And one of the big things, as we know, the staple issue that Don Felder had with the Eagles, namely Don Henley and Glenn Frey, were broken agreements. Now, I can tell you guys, someone who's played at all the crappy dive bars and has been in many bands over the years, one of the most common things and one of the things that used to really get me or band agreements not being kept. You know, when you start a band, you all get together, you talk and say, hey, this is what we're agreeing to do. It's kind of like a relationship. I've often said this if you've watched some of my other videos. People put their best foot forward in the beginning, but once things get going, people get comfortable, people start to, you know, slip on agreements. That didn't work for me, so I can kind of understand Don Felder. Of course, I can't completely understand. I wasn't in the Eagles. Never had anywhere even close to that kind of success. Come on, people, come on. But I can understand the frustration when you're feeling like, hey man, we had these agreements and they're being broken. I've seen it many times in small bands myself that I have played in over the years. And how he could tolerate what was going on, because hey, when you're making that kind of money, again, as a working musician, I remember this one particular gig I had where I played in a barely mediocre bar band for a few years, making nothing, to all of a sudden getting a really good gig in my region. All of a sudden I went from making peanuts to all of a sudden making $1,000 a weekend, going, oh my God. But there was a price to pay. There was a lot of bullshit involved. There was a lot of crap involved with the management, the member that ran the band. And it got to the point where every weekend I'm like, oh man, can I get through another weekend? I had friends saying to me, how do you do it? Well, you know what? If I can hang in there another weekend, I can get these bills paid and get a bit more money to do this or that. So in a very small, insignificant way, I can understand from Don Felder's point of view. Now again, there's two sides to every story. You know, we know the Eagles and the breakup of the Eagles because of the infamous fight with Don Felder and Glenn Frey that one night back in 1980. But when you read this book, there's so much to that story. It's a really interesting read. This is one of those things, it's like that Avengers movie where you got to pick sides. Are you on Don Felder's side or are you on Don Henley and Glenn Frey's side? I can tell you from my experiences reading the book, you know, I got to tell you, I'm kind of leaning on Don Felder's side. What do you guys think? I also want to ask you guys something. But before I do, I really recommend this book. If you've ever liked the Eagles, even just the insight on how the business works, it's just fascinating to read from start to finish. It's one of those books, when you start, you have a hard time putting it down. So after I read this book, you know, I was quite young, obviously. You know, I'm a Generation X. I'm a 70s kid. I was quite young when the Eagles were really popular. I remember my older brother had their 8-tracks, Hotel California, The Greatest Hits, all that stuff. But it gave me a newfound appreciation for the Eagles in general and also Don Felder. I would like to interview Don Felder on my channel. What do you guys think? I approached Don some time ago when my channel was much smaller. Not that I have a big channel, but we are approaching 30,000 subscribers. What do you guys think? How many of you would like to see me interview Don on this channel? So again, topic of conversation. I'm kind of leaning towards Don Felder. I love the book. I actually think it's one of the best books I've ever read about a music artist. It's just a fantastic book on many levels. I highly recommend it to you guys. And how many of you would like to see me interview Don Felder? See if we can get Don on the channel sometime. What do you think? It might be a tall task, but I think we could do it. I think it'd be a great interview. All right, guys, that is my take on it. If you haven't yet, check out my video reaction discussion on Derek Weebly's experience. I won't mention the name of the title, okay? I don't want to get in trouble. We have to be very careful when we do anything regarding the Eagles here on YouTube. But I'll put the link here at the end. You guys check it out. Let me know what you think. Again, guys, thank you for all the support, all the likes, the subscribing, the commenting. Even those that take the extra step and support me on Patreon, I really appreciate it. Let me know what you think below. And remember, practice hard, but practice smart, and we'll see you soon.